visit. I mean, you know the historical ties between Bangladesh and Japan during the days of founding father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. It's not usual for a head of state or a government to go to a foreign country, but go and visit a constituency of a particular member of parliament. But that's exactly what happened when Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman went to Japan almost immediately after the independence. He went to visit the constituency of Takashi Hayakawa. And this gentleman, the Japanese politician who went on to become a minister, he was the first Japanese official to visit war-ravaged Bangladesh in 1972. And he went to visit Shirazganj, which was poorly connected. He went to Bhola because the cyclone that has hit Bhola in 1970 November went down in the history book as the deadliest cyclone in the history of mankind. Now, if I may just repeat that its UN record goes on to establish that as the deadliest natural disaster in the history of mankind. In one evening, 1 million lives were perished. So, of course, that's the foundation, and of course, needless to say that Japanese kids went on to save their tiffin money to help support the war against the Pakistanis. So, we have a very special relationship with Japan, and 2014 visit was a watershed moment in our bilateral relationship, and the mega projects that we see is almost coming to completion now, whether that be a rail bridge, dual gauge, double line railway bridge alongside the Bangabandhu multi-purpose bridge on Jamuna, on mighty Jamuna, the third terminal, the transformation of Matabari, or the very birth of Matabari. The seed was sowed in Japan in 2014. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, in May. So a lot of these are coming to completion, and in the process we have increased. We are receiving increasing amount of funding ODA from Japan, and so it was a visit to renew that with the relatively new administration, even though we know the influence that Shinzo Abe-san had on Japanese politics and administration. It's actually the continuation of the same policy. And we had a very successful visit. There were as many as 8 agreement and MOUs at the government level signed, and multiple other agreement between businesses. And we are very happy to see that one of the thriving sector that we identified before the 2008 election, that was termed as part of our Digital Bangladesh aspiration, that the IT-related services and the export and trade in that respect with Japan is increasing at a very high pace, at expected level. But alongside that, there are quite a few others that and I think one of the major achievements, our economy has 3 major pillars: agriculture, exports led by RMG, and third one is remittance. Now, when Japan went on to decide or disclose the 7 source countries for their human resources, as you know, with the aging population, they need support and they need workforce, and that's why the country is also thriving in AIs and robotics and all that to replace human touch. But 7 was listed. I'm talking about something that took place 5 years ago. Now, after realizing that Bangladesh is not included, we of course got ourselves engaged with Abe administration and got ourselves through. Bangladesh was listed as 8th country, and we are sending technical interns, and this is going to help industrialization of Bangladesh tremendously well. So, it was all in all, it's a very good visit. There are far more details to it, and the press is well aware. The interested section of the community in both the countries are very well aware. As per the JETRO survey, Bangladesh is the most favored destination for Japanese investment. So that goes on to tell us a lot, despite all the challenges and some of the negative press that you see on doing business and the environment of doing business and so on and so forth. While we do not necessarily deny, we keep on investing to improve and iron out all the issues that we have, but we have already attracted Japanese investment in a big way. Arai Hajar is up and running, almost 2 manufacturing plants are operating there. So after that, of course, the Washington, that was again another watershed moment in our relationship between World Bank and Bangladesh. World Bank has played a critical role where we are today. But I think the journey was always entangled sometime, or our aspiration, of course, was that the priority of the local experts and how much they had to say in a particular project, because there is no size fit for all when it comes to poverty eradication and economic development of a country. A country which is the largest delta of the world, Bangladesh, most densely populated country in the world, one of the poorest countries in the world, not just waterborne diseases, but let's say mosquito related, infectious diseases, makes it even more challenging. And of course, the climate impact as well. So I think, relationship has reached to a level where we have mutual respect. Of course, it was disappointing what happened, but that's history now. With Padma Bridge, we got ourselves through with flying colors. So that gave us a lot of confidence to bargain when it comes to lending and borrowing. And you have seen the appreciation from the head of IMF on the leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was crucial to bring Bangladesh where we are today. Some way to go. Then the other one was largely ceremonial, but we have one of the largest and most affluent diaspora, including mainstream politics in the UK. And whenever she visits a city or country, she attracts a lot of visitors, whether that be from the opposition, which can get sensitive at times, but country that practices democracy for centuries. So that visit also went well. And also the Qatar, as you know, she only visited Qatar recently also to attend the LDC 5. And Bangladesh is a champion country, among the graduating ones, and leading by examples. All the 3 parameters were achieved long ago. And in between, we have increased our engagement with the European Union as well. Actually, within the visit, if I may humbly share my visit, during Prime Minister's visit, I, of course, came back from Japan and went to Brussels. And it's so important. We appreciate the engagement till date, the single tool as much as supports from Japan or supports from World Bank. But I think to make our economy self-reliant, EU's EBA has played an instrumental role, and Bangladesh utilized EBA way better than many other countries who are getting similar supports. We are in a transition. I'm not exactly sure what you meant by crossroad, but on the in the trading front, we are graduating, and we have received commitment from major partners that beyond 2026, up until 2029, they will continue to give us duty-free access. But from the LDC platform, now I'm relating, my visit with Prime Minister's prior visit to LDC 5 in Doha, where we tabled this idea in form of resolution. It's not going to be easy. We are seeking supports from major importers and major economies that all the LDCs should be allowed to have a 6 years graduation period, moratorium period rather than 3 years, because things didn't go as planned for many of them. Bangladesh is one of the very few countries who, ducked and weaved and managed and confronted issues like COVID and then followed by the war. So, I hope, we will be able to convince the major economies to agree on a 6 years graduation. So all in all, these were very useful visit and at the right time as well to set the tone for Bangladesh for the next couple of years.
Right. Sir, thank you very much. And you're talking about strengthening ties with some of the major global players. And Bangladesh has recently come up with its own Indo-Pacific outlook, which was widely appreciated by the crucial players in the region. But are you under any sort of pressure to stay away from China, which has come up with this new idea, Global Development Initiative?
No, but of course, we have joined China in BRI, but we haven't joined GDI. So let me make it absolutely clear. It's a new idea floated. I think the outgoing Foreign Minister, Mr. Wang Yi, came to present that idea briefly. And since then, we have engaged our officials to dig deep and understand better. Now, we are under absolutely no pressure from any quarter or part, even though we see some rather unfortunate, proxy, some messages and sometimes they comment. But we have dealt with it. We have kind of lived with it, and the foreign policy of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is, friendship to all, malice towards none. And I keep on saying that it sounds simple, but not very easy in today's geopolitical context to practice that. I would go on to claim, and I'm sure people who understand foreign policy and keep an eye on, what we are exactly doing, I think we have been maintaining that rather well. But no, there's no pressure because as long as we are honest with our objectives, and that exactly what Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's administration, are doing at the moment.
Sir, let's talk about the Rohingya issue, and I'm reading out a quote. Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh are at risk of becoming the new Palestine, according to a UN head who said they're trapped in a protracted and increasingly neglected crisis. Olivier de Schutter, UN Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights, said the almost 1 million people living in overcrowded camps in Cox's Bazar should be given the right to work in their host country of Bangladesh, and that facing them to rely on dwindling international support was not sustainable. What's your comment on this?
I met the professor before he left Dhaka. Now, let me remind the audience that there are many countries in this world who are active member of Human Rights Council, but wouldn't allow a special rapporteur on these special and sensitive issues to go and welcome the visits. But we let him free for almost 2 weeks. He went around Bangladesh, but some of the things that he has mentioned in his report will be confronted surely. But this is not a major one that on the report. But I'm not too sure whether he'll be asking any other or bringing any other topics from the report. But the school that I went to at the university, the best marketeer that country had during that time, and the best book that he wrote and case studies. Brilliant professor, absolutely brilliant professor, and he was there, and the rest of them were here. I'm not going to name it. He passed away, and but he attempted 2 businesses, and it failed miserably. Now it's always it's well and good to write something fancy and wishful, and but we need to take reality into consideration. So the report is flawed in many aspects, but on the Rohingya, of course, it's a difficult issue. We are doing our best in today's context, what's happening around the world. It's not easy to keep the countries interested, but we are grateful to the countries who are supporting on the humanitarian aspect of it. Now, by the end of second year, we always said that we need to decongest the camp, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina went on to establish Bhashan Char. But let's just recall how some of these countries and even United Nations saw Bhashan Char. They said, Bhashan Char means it's a floating island. Someone literally translated that into English from Bangla. Bhashan is floating and Char is Char. They said it's a floating island. It's not a floating island, for God's sake. And it's, if you look into the map, it's way into Bangladesh. There are another 10% land of Bangladesh if you consider the southwestern border of Bangladesh, and also Chittagong and Cox's Bazar. And since we have moved 28,000 who volunteered to go there, we have had about 3 cyclones, I think, at least. And there's nothing absolutely happened. And this can withstand a category 3 or category 4 cyclone. These are concrete structure with large dams and all that. There could be some waterlogging temporarily. It comes with some livelihood opportunities. But the world largely looked down upon Bhashan Char and our effort. And that was so wrong. And now we see regular fire incidences. Maintaining law and order and policing is extremely difficult in Cox's Bazar because it's so congested and compressed. So if the world came together and believed in Sheikh Hasina's policy, I think we don't need to remind some of our friends that when it comes to Bangladesh, leave it to Sheikh Hasina. Believe what she says. She has learnt it in a far more harder way than one can ever imagine. But yeah, it's a protracted crisis. We have been saying that. So we're doing our best. There are efforts to have some trial going. But meanwhile, of course, the humanitarian assistance, I would call upon the major economies who fell short in their commitment last year, and this year is looking even worse on humanitarian side of it. And Bangladesh will have to carry, and Bangladesh will carry, because Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's very decision to open the border for them was humanitarian.
Sorry to interrupt, that was my next question. Do you think the economies that you have mentioned, are they taking enough responsibility as a part of their third country settlement, taking a large number of Rohingyas to their country?
There are talks, very little action. There are very, we have such huge respect on some of these international media. I don't want to name them, but I don't understand how they went on to accept a statement and write, published from the United States, that Canada was asking to take about 20 or 40,000, but Bangladesh refused. It's to put it very politely, that's not right. That's not right. There were individual family members in 2s and 4s.
So what are the numbers you're looking at?
There's no number, it's 0. There are no approach from Canada at least to take a large number of Rohingyas. But the United States recently laid out a plan, but it's, I hope it will get some momentum. They went on to declare a figure, but that's for the region, because Rohingyas are in highest number in Bangladesh, but there are other Rohingyas in other neighboring countries in the Far East. So we'll see what happens. But to answer your question, it's yes and no. On humanitarian side, 1 or 2 countries are playing a commendable role, but majority of them are not. And no efforts as such from majority of these countries on repatriation, apart from UN. And I think they could do a lot more. Just sanctioning 1 or 2 generals who never travels to the West, who will never travel. Sanction means nothing to them. So they need to devise a better mechanism to put pressure on Myanmar.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's turn our attention to domestic politics. Every discussion now happening evolves around the national election, and the government has expressed its commitment to hold free and fair elections. But the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, is demanding to to have the election to be held under a caretaker government. Do you think this as a barrier to democratic process and constitutional process?
Well, it is surely because, through a legitimate process, we amended and necessary changes were made, and there were some demands from their side as well to enact election commission related laws. And if I may just remind, it went unnoticed largely in our press that last March, before whatever happening this week or last week or what might happen tomorrow, last March the cabinet approved an amendment to the RPO is that anyone who creates obstruction for journalists from collecting information during the election or on the election, and also whoever undermines the process, and there are a bit more detail to it, that individual will be subjected to 2 to 7 years jail imprisonment, and there is probably some financial fines as well. Now, that's a proactive efforts of Bangladesh government, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government. It was done, the cabinet approved that in March, so the next process, it will go to the parliament and the committee, and it takes very little time. So, that's another demonstration of our commitment, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's commitment for holding free and fair election. Now, I'm sure you will also be convinced and agree with me that a free and fair election requires equal commitment from all the parties. Yes, of course, the onus on the government and election commission is greater than other political parties, but when it comes to only political parties, the responsibility is absolutely equal. Now look at, if you say 2014 election wasn't free and fair, which is being used as a misleading data and information. 2018 wasn't a free and fair election. It's the opposition who has to be blamed. 2014 election, because Jamaats were barred from participating in election, it was down to simple mathematics, because you need 3 to 4% vote of Jamaat Islami for BNP to win any single seat, as so to speak, apart from 4 or 5 among the 300 seats. And 2018 also, in every constituency there were a nomination given by this leader, that leader, and that leader. So on an average, there were at least 3 BNP candidates. I don't want to go into the detail. Someone needs to really refer back to what happened in 2014 and 18 to term them, as not a free and fair election. So the party, all the other parties, apart from the party who is running the government, Bangladesh Awami League, the other party needs to be equally committed for a free and fair election. Now, demanding still something that we have done away with. It's done and dusted. A caretaker government issue, as far as government is concerned, is done and dusted. We're not going to go back to that. We want to be self-reliant. Why someone on earth need to bring in someone who is not elected and not committed to the people? And we have burnt our finger, in a big way. And all the other parties suffered during 2006 and 7. So I wonder why they keep on pressing that issue. But I hope the responsibility will prevail and BNP will participate in the election.
Sir, you must agree with me, or you may disagree, that the most trending word in Bangladesh's politics currently is the sanctions. So is the Bangladesh government under any kind of pressure from European Union or the US, who are the 2 major markets for Bangladesh RMG sector, to continue the democratic process in Bangladesh?
There are a couple of things. One is apart from the December 2020 sanction against some law enforcing officers and RAB, there is no sanction. And I would say I do not see any reason or any possibility of any further sanction in coming months and years, unless we do something really funny. Yeah. The number 2 is why people jump into conclusion and say that RMG or trade and business might suffer. look at the history and relationship of these countries. At the height of the conflict between the countries, or in one part, some of the countries that you referred to, and consider who is their biggest enemy. I'm sorry to use that term, but someone who is involved in conflict or confronting with them. They never stop trading. So why do you believe or try even refer and relate and link this with our trade? Trade is mutual. You'll have to understand that also. And also, the people who are involved are equally influential, and the larger economies are also more dependent on the individuals and the community of businesses. So so it's interdependence and it's mutual respect as well. Now, on the sanctions, there are two aspects of it. We are engaged politically through our diplomatic channel, and we have demonstrated significant improvement. That's not kind of my quote, it's their quote. So if you were punished on 10th December 2021 for whatever wrongdoings RAB has done or the individuals who are involved in last 15 years prior to 2021, significant improvement after December 2021 only goes on to suggest that we are working towards lifting such bans. I don't want to go and claim whether it was logical or illogical. So that's one front. The other one is the legal route, and we'll pursue that, as you said in the past.
So, sir, how does the government of Bangladesh see the recent US visa policy from a diplomatic standpoint? And what can be the political and diplomatic impact of the US visa policy?
As we said in our press statement, in the official reaction, is that we appreciate the pretext in terms of commitment of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government to hold a free and fair election, and it's for everyone or anyone or all the parties, and it goes beyond, and there's a list of all the other professions. So we would only say that the party need to ensure that there is no arbitrary use of the tool, because if it scares, we are activists of political parties. We take certain risk in our activities and risk, and there's a culture as well, and you need to understand the language. It's not just the verbatim what I say in my constituency in retaliation of what my opposition said, because I need to keep the moral of my constituents and partymen strong. That's how politics plays out. But there are enough, probably, the question that you are still asking me, it should die down by now. The issue should die down. It has been about a couple of days, and it was made absolutely clear from both the sides, from the government and the country, United States. And we need to make sure that there is a transparent process in evaluating or targeting individuals. And the individuals, what we came to know, will only come to know, and no one else will ever come to know who was that individual who was barred from issuing visa.
Thank you very much, sir. So that brings me to the final question of the session. And after that, I would open the floor for Q&A. We have seen a letter reportedly written by 6 congressmen to President Biden seeking sanctions on Bangladeshi peacekeepers going viral on social media. This letter was also shared by a few opposition members on their official social media page. Is there any authenticity of this letter? My first question. And has the Ministry of Foreign Affairs tried to verify this letter with Washington?
I don't know whether it's true, but even if it is true, this is not the first such attempt. The party who wants to come back to power only to loot and misuse, as they have done during 2001 to 2006, after losing the election in 2008, 29th of December, Khaleda Zia went on to write and wrote an op-ed in Washington Times, making exactly similar call. So, I wonder what's the connection here. And BNP has a history of using and falsifying comments of foreign friends, politicians, even journalists. There were an incident in 2015 when BNP falsified a similar document. So I will not give them a clear cheat on that. I'll wait and see.
Sir, thank you very much. Now I would like to take questions from the floor.
If it's a microphone, student, you could raise your hand and you'll know where to set up this. And please, your name and designation.
I think I can make the mic. Okay, it's okay. My name is Jhumur Bari. I work for Ekatu Television. You said that all the political parties are equally liable for the free and fair election. And if they don't participate in the election, it will not be participatory. But how they are liable for free and fair election? And do you have any pressure from abroad or any kind of from any country for a participatory election or a credible election? Which one is more preferable?
I'm not too sure why among the Bangladeshi journalists this foreign pressure word is so popular. Do you really think that even if someone wants to put pressure, they can move Sheikh Hasina? I mean, she's the last person in this world to get influenced by a foreign power. She's Bangabandhu's daughter. And even if our foreign friends do not understand what does that really mean, daughter is a daughter, there are millions and billions of daughters in this world. But Bangabandhu's daughter is her pride, and that's what drives her. So, please, do some justice to this legacy and, don't just invite such, weaker observations. Anyways, to answer your question is, of course, as the host asked me that demanding a caretaker government, which the present constitution and also the verdict passed on by the honorable judges, that's an illegitimate demand, and that itself goes on to qualify as obstruction for free and fair election. And then, of course, the speeches, comments and commentary passed on by our friends in Bangladesh Nationalist Party, threatening that police officers, administration, electoral officers, whoever will participate in the election will be dealt with. That's a serious threat. And I hope United States of America is taking good note of that.
Anyone else?
Thank you. I'm Shahriar Zaman. Shahriar bhai over here. Shahriar Zaman, I'm from Bangla Tribune.
I always know where you
It's
are.
all right. So I don't need to stand up. I'm a journalist here. Just one academic question. You have a very good relationship with India. Now you have a strategic relationship with Japan. You also have very good relationship with Australia. But these three countries are small brothers. But you have a little bit uncomfortable relationship with USA. My question is, what type of foreign policy, not foreign policy is clear, foreign relations Bangladesh is pursuing as far as these four countries are concerned? Thank you.
Of course, I wouldn't say the relationship is strained, even though you haven't used the word, you have used something slightly different. But I went on to say at the MK Center yesterday that the maturity of the relationship has reached at a level where we say and do unpleasant things and discuss. I think that's signs of maturity. But if that is not going to satisfy you, of course, my job is not to satisfy you with an answer that you are looking for. I'll just lay down the truth. But of course, there are some irritants in the relationship, and the major one is being a friendly country hosting the self-confessed killer and convicted killer of founding father of the nation, and none other than Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And that's a source of irritation as well. So I'm not too sure what foreign policy will help and address that apart from plain and simple repatriation of the killer.
Sharif, I'm here Nafiza Dobla from Independent Television. I know you, my face. I'm just know the details about GTI. We heard that ERDI make a MOU, prepare for a MOU, and it feedback from China, and they wait for Bangladesh answers. So you said that Bangladesh is still not joined in GTI. Will you please clear it in Bangla for our television?
Sharif bhai, I want to add something.
I have a lot of sisters in this one. I'm so happy.
Please take the mic.
Okay. My name is Isha Jahanoubi. I work for TVC News. GDI as well as BRI, we are already connected. I'm just asking, we are already connected with BRI as well. So, what is your concern about BRI?
Okay, no, we do not have any concern, of course. We have joined BRI, and so did some other friendly countries from the West as well. It's not all of them, or some major countries didn't join, and in the neighborhood as well, let's say India. But we have joined as much as the other European countries. But GDI, it's early days. I don't have the detail. Now, আমরা বিআরআইতে যোগদান করেছি বুঝে শুনেই। বেল্ট অ্যান্ড রোড ইনিশিয়েটিভ আমাদের পুরনো ঐতিহাসিকভাবে আপনারা জানেন যে এশিয়া ছিল পৃথিবীর সবচেয়ে ধনী অঞ্চল, এবং সেটার যে রুটটি ছিল সিল্ক রুট বলা হতো বিভিন্ন সময়, আপনারা সেটা বিভিন্ন বইতে পড়েছেন ইতিহাসবিদদের বক্তব্যে। সেটাকে রিভাইভালের একটা এফোর্টস ছিল লার্জলি বিআরআই। তো এটাতে আমরা যেমন যুক্ত হয়েছি, পশ্চিমা দেশেরও ইউরোপের বিশেষ করে বেশ কিছু রাষ্ট্র সেখানে যুক্ত হয়েছে, এবং আমার মনে হয় না সেখানে কোনো সমস্যা আছে, এবং আপনারা কোনো কনসার্ন সেরকম পাননি বা দেখেননি। জিডিআই একটা নতুন ইনিশিয়েটিভ, আমার কাছে ডিটেল নেই, এটা আপনাকে ওপেন সোর্স বা চাইনিজ গভর্নমেন্টের কাছ থেকে নিতে হবে ডিটেলে, and unless something done and asked to be made public, we cannot just make it. আমরা এটাকে প্রকাশ করতে পারি না যদি এটা আমরা তাদের সম্মতি না থাকে। কিন্তু আমরা এমন কোনো স্টেজে যাইনি যে এটাকে নিয়ে আলোচনা করতে হবে। হ্যাঁ, আলোচনা হতে পারে একাডেমিক লেভেলে বা থিঙ্ক ট্যাঙ্ক লেভেলে, সে আলোচনাটা করা ভালো। এটার মধ্যে আমরাও জানি না যে সত্যিকার অর্থে জয়েন করা উচিত নয় এরকম কোনো কিছু আছে কিনা, আমরা এখনো পর্যন্ত পাইনি। কিন্তু খুব ডিটেলও আমাদের কাছে নেই। কনসার্ন কমিটি করে দেওয়া হয়েছে, তারা হায়ার অথরিটিকে রিপোর্ট করবেন। কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় এটা আপনাদেরকে চীনের সাথে, সেই রাষ্ট্রের কাছ থেকেই জানতে হবে এটার বিস্তারিত কি আছে।
Anyone else?
যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সাথে অস্বস্তিটা কি শুধুমাত্রই বঙ্গবন্ধুর খুনি ফেরত না দেওয়ার ক্ষেত্রে, আর কোনো ধরনের?
We can translate
No.
the question into English, please,
Yeah.
and then can we, for the audience? Yeah. Sabir, would you like to translate it in English?
No.
Repeat the question.
Okay, so the question is
Yeah, the hesitation we
the
had.
recent strain with the US. Is it only regarding?
No, first of all, I don't want to term it as a strained relationship. I clarified that, but I was trying to make my namesake happy, because he was looking for an answer as the journalist often demands, But so I brought that. This is of course is a major source of irritation. We'll always say that no matter what. But I don't see anything else as such. No.
That's the only issue.
No,
or-
I can't just stamp what you just said that it's the only issue. But it's a mature relationship. That's my take, and the relationship is not strained. I refuse to accept that.
Thank you.
Sherry?
One mic off.
Yeah. It's a follow-up question. It's Tanzim Anwar. I'm from BSS. I'd like to know how far Bangladesh can go with USA when a country actually giving shelter the convicted killer of father of the nation. How far we can go?
Well, I think it's for the countrymen to decide, but we lead the way, or whoever runs the government, or whoever is holding the office. But it's a difficult one. Honestly speaking, it is surely a difficult one. It's not that it. In case of Canada, it's similar but not same. They have a law in place that bar a convicted criminal who is subject to capital punishment from repatriation. But it's not that USA has done away with capital punishment. But no, I mean, as much as we have came kind of this far in 2023, we can go even farther. But there will always be something that might hold you back. No, I don't have specific measure, how far the relationship can go, but this can certainly grow.
China has invited Prime Minister for visit China. Is there any possibility to visit China Prime Minister before our election?
I don't know. I mean, we don't have a date yet, and where did you get that from? Or there's always a possibility to visit a friendly country. So once the visit is agreed or confirmed, we'll share. I mean, we can go to many places before election. Election is not going to stop us pursuing our relationship, because all these visits brings a lot of joy and outcome that beneficial for the country and for our emancipation, that ultimately boils down to poverty elevation, and that's #1 priority of Sheikh Hasina's government.
This is Mohsen from the Canadian High Commission. My question is basically more of trying to get a clarification, because the kind of questions that I see from my journalist friends here, there seems to be a kind of a sort of I would say, over-heightened understanding of how the entire quagmire of US, China, and Bangladesh relations is going to pan out. So, in your own words, would you just basically, like the moment a few minutes ago you said that if we are honest with the way that we deal with these countries, so with that particular statement as a pivot, would you please just explain what we deem as a very confusing and a very heightened, tense situation within these three countries? Is it exactly that way, or is it the lack of functional understanding that we lack? That's why we don't understand what exactly is happening. Can you just in your own words, just describe that? So for clarification.
Thank you. Whatever I'm saying, these are my own words, of course. But I think it's twofold. It's the lack of understanding, and also what is going to be catchy and popular among the readers and the audience. And it's unfortunate, but I must not cross that fine line in suggesting my friends who write and reports to heighten or over heighten. But that's a challenge that every government faces. So I'm not going to ask my friends to keep us immune from that. We live with that challenge, and we have learned to live with it, and we'll continue to live with it. But it reaches at times, but I wouldn't say it's a local mainstream media as such that can potentially damage the relationship. But those are being done by some foreign press, not local press as such. the honesty of purpose and the sincerity of purpose, as Bangabandhu went on to write in his memoir, is still the way of doing things for her daughter Sheikh Hasina, and that's what I meant by honesty and objectivity of purpose and sincerity of purpose, and and that's why till date it gave a lot of things to take away, but challenging this and keep on, if I may, keep on poking on these issues might disrupt the progress, because not all the countries in the world have equal depth of understanding, and they might get a little surprised, why still the press is not asking me too many questions. How do you keep a balance between China, Japan, India, USA, Russia? If the question pops up frequently from domestic front, I will not blame if someone simplifies it as something that probably the countryman is not liking it. This can boil down to that, and so I hope the professionalism will withstand all these popular demands.
Hello. My name is Tazar Mohammed. I work for Shomai Television. My question is regarding the election observers, and we know that recently EU has expressed their interest in terms of observing this election, and a delegation is coming in July. And on the other hand, we have seen in few reports that the UN has said Bangladesh government has not yet asked for any sort of election observers to be invited from UN. So what is Bangladesh's position, the government's position particularly, in terms of actually inviting the foreign observers in observing the national election? Thank you.
I have a very simple answer to that. We will do anything and everything that Election Commission asks us to do. I don't have.
Shari bhai, I just want to know here, Bangladesh have any plan for repatriation, start a pilot proposal?
Of course, yes, we say that. I mean, yeah, we are working on it. আপনাদেরকে জানাবো আমরা তখনই যখন এটা একটা ম্যাচিউর লেভেলে আসবে এবং সেটা ভলান্টারি হবে, সেটা ডিগনিফাইড এবং সেফ হবে, এবং আপনারা জানেন ইতিমধ্যে যে একাধিক প্রতিনিধি দলের মধ্যে যাওয়া আসা হচ্ছে এটাকে সফল করার জন্য। কিন্তু কি বলবো, এটাতে ট্রায়াল ইজ এ ট্রায়াল, অ্যান্ড দ্যাটস ওয়াই ট্রায়ালস আর কল্ড ট্রায়ালস। আমরা ওখান থেকে দেখবো, অভিজ্ঞতা নেব, তারপরে যদি বড় সিদ্ধান্ত নেওয়ার মতো পরিবেশ হয় আমরা নেব। It's not a press conference. This is not a press conference.
What stage the preparation process is right now?
I think host needs to intervene now.
I think I have to
Now ball is our court.
So I guess one more question.
This is Mohsen again, very high commission. Just basically want to get your idea about, as you said, that the funding or the commitment of the international community is reducing, declining for a number of reasons across the globe in the Rohingya crisis for Bangladesh. And given the fact that it may decline furthermore, what are your plans for that to basically handle the situation, given the fact that there is not much positivity being seen for the resolution of this entire crisis? So what exactly are you planning to handle this entire situation at a time when we ourselves are actually having a lot of financial crisis, or at least financial difficulties during this year, and then there's the elections coming up. So all this entire situation, how this nexus actually helps you to, or makes you think about the situation in the coming months?
We don't have a black and white plan laid out, because it's UN who is leading the initiative, and if they foresee there is a definite dearth of resources, they need to flag it up to us, as they have done in the past, World Food Program a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago, fell short of resources, and we had to intervene. And there are regular such practices. But for large resources, they need to tell us in advance. We are not controlling the food supply or ration supply, it's the UN. So they must tell us well in advance. And we are committed, like it or not, or Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, the government will deliver and make sure that they are well looked after.
Thank you very much. I guess that's one more question. Sir, with your permission.
No. She's going to ask me another date, when that is.
Sharve, we just know that when you said that USA don't give any sanction further, then there is a bomb blast,
You might want to rephrase the question.
I just want to know that when you said that US don't give any sanction further, then there is something happen, like about the RAB issue, you said there is no sanction coming out. In 2022, we say that there is a sanction on RAB. And another things is happened in last May. Then when you said there is nothing, we have a better relationship with the USA, then the visa policy is coming out. So what do you think, that when you say there is no sanction, so is there happening anything
Then
more?
the best thing is I don't say anything. I say nothing. I stop. But I'm not too sure what you want the answer in English? তাহলে প্রশ্নটা আরেকবার বাংলায় করো।
আরে ভাই, সরকারের পক্ষ থেকে যখনই বলা হয় যে যুক্তরাষ্ট্র আর কোনো স্যাংশন দিবে না ভবিষ্যতে, সরকার সেইভাবেই মনে করে, কারণ যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সাথে বাংলাদেশের সম্পর্ক খুব ভালো। এটা আপনারা 2002-এও বলেছিলেন, তারপর আমরা দেখছিলাম র্যাবের উপর স্যাংশন এসেছে, এবং যদি আমরা মেয়ের ভিসা 2021 এবং আমরা যদি দেখি 3 মে আপনাদের চিঠি পাঠানো হয়েছিল ভিসা পলিসি নিয়ে। তারপরে কিন্তু আমরা যখন প্রেস ব্রিফিংয়ে করেছি, সেখানেও আপনারা বলেছিলেন যে না, এই ধরনের কোনো স্যাংশন আসছে না, আমাদের দুই দেশের রিলেশন খুবই ভালো। তো যখনই আপনারা বলেন যে ফিউচারে কোনো স্যাংশন আসবে না যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের কাছ থেকে, আমরা দেখি তার আগেই স্যাংশন চলে আসছে, এবং সেই তথ্যটা হয়তো বা পরে বের হয়।
না, আপনার প্রশ্নের মধ্যে ভুল আছে। প্রশ্নের 1 নম্বর ভুল হলো 21 সালে স্যাংশন এসে 22-এ নয়, এবং তার আগে স্যাংশন নিয়ে আমাদের কোনো সেরকম ধারণা ছিল না যেটা আসছে। আমরা কিন্তু 21-এর ডিসেম্বরে আগে বলিনি যে স্যাংশন আসবে কি আসবে না, বিকজ আমরা জানতামই না এই ধরনের একটা কাজ হচ্ছে। তো আপনি কেন বললেন কথাটি বুঝলাম না, এক। দ্বিতীয় কথা হলো, আপনারাই গত 2-3 সপ্তাহ ধরে স্যাংশন আসছে কিনা জিজ্ঞেস করছেন। আমরা বলেছি স্যাংশন অফকোর্স নট। ঠিক একইভাবে 22শে ডিসেম্বর আপনারা প্রশ্ন করেছেন, কারণ খুব ঢোল পিটিয়ে বেড়াচ্ছিল, খুব হ্যাপি মুডে ছিল বিএনপি। 10 তারিখের পর থেকে খালেদা জিয়ার কথায় দেশ চলবে, এবং আমরা তো বুঝে ফেলেছি কাহিনীটা কি ছিল। তার আগে আমরা এনগেজ হয়েছি, স্যাংশন আসবে না, আসার সম্ভাবনা নেই, যুক্তি নেই, আমরা বলেছি স্যাংশন আসেনি। কিন্তু আমরা বললে আসবে না বিষয়টি তা নয়, কিন্তু আপনি যে তথ্য দুটো দিলেন এর মধ্যে একটা ফ্লজ আছে, ভুল আছে। আর এই দফাতে আপনারা জিজ্ঞেস করেছেন স্যাংশন, আমরা বলেছি আমরা কোনো যুক্তি দেখি না, এবং স্যাংশনও কিন্তু নেই। যেটা দেওয়া হয়েছে নিউ ভিসা পলিসি, ইটস ফার ফ্রম স্যাংশন। আমি জানি না এক্স্যাক্টলি আপনি কি বলতে চাইছেন। আর
Sure, I think it's the last one. And I would like to ask a tricky question. Like in recent year, whenever you go for any bilateral engagement with any country, there's a big issue of security cooperation. So like in Japan, I know we signed the MOU, and Japan is ready to provide assistance under their OSA, official security assistance. And we know that the signing of Jisomiya and Aksa, this is also going on, and it could be any time, maybe. And in last FOC with China, you talk about the security cooperation as well, even in India. So, and my question is, why this kind of like Bangladesh is under any security threat? First of all, and second of all, in the public domain, there was a perception that the superpowers actually, they would like to sell their arms to Bangladesh. So how do you explain this thing from your position?
এখানে একটা বোঝার ভুল হয়, বা আই থিঙ্ক we get into areas that's beyond the scope of these agreements. Security cooperation doesn't necessarily refer to strategic alliance or, or I think when the reader is reading it, he is reading it from the point of view that Bangladesh might join that country against a war with the third country. That's far away from reality. প্রতিরক্ষা চুক্তি করা মানেই এই না যে কারোর সাথে মিলে আমরা যুদ্ধ করব। বাংলাদেশ যুদ্ধ চায় না, যুদ্ধ করবে না। কিন্তু বাংলাদেশের স্বাধীনতাতে কোনো আঘাত আসলে, সভেরেনিটিতে আঘাত আসলে তার ব্যবস্থার জন্য we'll have to procure necessary equipments to defend our country. And we also need policing, and the regular security activities require certain equipments, and that's what we buy. As we have said, of course we have forces goal as a plan that where we want to take our 2030 all the forces, Army, Navy and Air Force. But of course, with the current economic situation, we have probably slowed down on some of the major purchases, and that will remain till the situation gets better, because grassroots economy is a top priority here as well, and we are under no security threat. But of course, there is always this possibility of radicalization and extremist activities, and Bangladesh's efforts, including RAB, and the countries, even United States of America, who has issued sanction against RAB, appreciates the contribution and the role of RAB. The senior RAB officials laid down their lives, sacrifices, but also the professionalism that RAB has presented, and the cooperation with some major countries, intelligence sharing, training, and real-time data and information in locating particular individuals are very much in place. But we are under absolutely no security threat from any external countries. The agreements are largely for our how to put it, keep the business going, and we do have some strategic plan which is part of Forces Goal 2030, but I think we'll have to wait a little more for that to conclude.
Sir, thank you very much. I guess we will call it a day. I would like to give a huge shout out to the Daily Intifad for organizing this event, and of course is Tariq Hussain. I would like to thank all the guests present here today, and we hope that Bangladesh will continue to strengthen its ties with its development partners and stakeholders. Thank you very much. And of course, a big round of applause